Here's the fourth of the 7 big discoveries we made about relationships. Relationships thrive when both people keep their agreements with each other impeccably.
And what agreements really do is create a solid foundation that you can improvise within. It creates a structure of trust and accountability. And I can remember some of the things that we used to do that made relationships not work. One of them was that I can remember telling you something as you were sort of going out the door, where I didn't really have your full attention, or I would come in when you were working on something and I didn't really take the time to see that whether you were present or not, and I would say something that we had to do and then assume that you agreed with me. So one of the ways not to do an agreement is to assume that your partner agrees with you without checking out, okay, here's what I would like to do, does that work for you? And you actually have an agreement where both of you say, yes, this is something I'm going to do or something I'm not going to do. So that was a big mistake for me, I remember early on in our relationship.
Another problem with agreements is that you might want to change an agreement,
right,
and that's perfectly okay as long as you change it consciously with the other person. But if you change it on your own and don't inform the other person, then there's always going to be drama or a problem come out of that.
So one of the ways that people do that is by forgetting to the agreement or creating a fuzzy agreement where you think you've agreed to one thing but your partner thinks you've agreed to another, and that's a good way for kids not to get picked up or the groceries not to, have the whole list completed. So one of the things we want to suggest for you to do with agreements is write them down. And that might seem really, really obvious, but so many people don't do that. Gay and I do a lot of our agreements by email because we can write them down. I write it down, I send it to him, he writes back what the time is or whether it's something he can do. So that one really, really makes a big difference.
Yeah, even though we might even be sitting on the opposite ends of the couch, we send each other an email because it's something that would be easier to write down or put on our calendar rather than just say it out loud. It doesn't matter whether it's a big agreement or a little agreement. Tom Peters, the business consultant, says there's no such thing as a minor lapse of integrity. So it doesn't matter if it's, honey, I forgot to take the trash out like you asked me to do, or honey, I slept with your twin sister the night before we got married. It doesn't matter if it's a huge agreement like that or a little one. Anything counts as a broken agreement and causes drama in the relationship.
So when you do break an agreement, what we recommend is that you tell the truth about it, you feel your feelings about it, you listen to your partner, and you make a new agreement about something that you can both agree is something that you want. And one of the other big learnings that I had about agreements was rather than waiting and then deciding whether I wanted to do something based on what Gay said, I got more proactive on, here are the things that I really want to do. Here's what I want for dinner. Here's what I would like to do this week. And then I would see if Gay wanted to agree to that rather than always being the passive one. So there are wonderful things that you can learn with agreements, but the big one is that when you make agreements, you increase your vitality and you increase the vitality of your relationship. So rather than agreements being something that somebody is telling you to do, you really notice that you feel stronger and more powerful as you make and keep agreements.